They thought I was weak. They thought I was fading. My own children tried to strip away my dignity, erase my voice, and claim the life I built with my own hands. But what they didn't know was that I was once the Iron Lady of Honolulu, and when the day came, I rose again, and the whole world saw the truth. My name is Margaret Kealoha. I am 74 years old, a widow, a mother of 3. For more than 4 decades, my life has been this island, Maui. Waves rolling in, trade winds carrying the scent of plumeria, the soft call of birds at dawn. This land is my heart. This home is my soul. I live in a 2-story house facing the Pacific. It creaks in storms, it sighs in the heat, but it holds my memories. I still remember the day we bought it. My husband Daniel held my hand so tight. "We'll raise them here," he whispered, "and we'll grow old together." But life rarely keeps its promises. He passed away 30 years ago, heart failure, a single night that changed everything. And I was left to raise 3 children alone. Robert, my eldest, driven sharp, always chasing the next success. Sarah, my middle child, elegant, ambitious, married into wealth in Honolulu. And Michael, my youngest, gentle, uncertain, the one who always lingered close to me. I poured my life into them, every paycheck stretched thin, every night spent sewing, baking, balancing bills, every morning walking them to school before heading to my shift. I wasn't perfect, but I was present, and I loved them more than my own breath. The years blurred by, graduations, weddings, grandchildren born. My body aged, but my spirit stayed steady. I thought, maybe this is enough. Now at 74, my world is quieter. I tend to hibiscus in the garden. I weave leis for the church. I bake cookies for the children next door. Neighbors wave as they pass. "Morning, Mrs. Kealoha," they call. I smile, I wave back. I think this is what peace feels like. Every Sunday the children visit, at least they used to. Robert would bring his work phone always buzzing, but I was glad just to see him. Sarah arrived in dresses too expensive for my wooden floors, but she hugged me, and that was enough. Michael sat longest quietly fixing broken hinges or reading on the porch. For years, those visits kept me alive. The house held laughter then. Grandchildren chasing each other down the hallway, Robert arguing politics with Sarah, Michael humming softly as he tuned his guitar. I would sit in the old wicker chair, cup of tea in hand, and think, "Daniel, you would be proud. We built this family. We survived. I never expected riches. I never expected ease. I wanted something simpler. To grow old in my home, to watch the sea each morning, to feel safe surrounded by family, to be remembered not as a burden, but as a mother who gave her all." Some evenings I sit on the porch alone. The horizon glows, orange waves shimmer gold. I whisper into the breeze, "Thank you for carrying me this far." At those moments, I believe in peace. I believe my children will always stand beside me. I believe my home will remain mine for as long as I breathe. If only belief were enough. At first, the changes were small. Robert canceled Sunday lunch. He said work was busy. I nodded, though my heart sank. Sarah stopped staying long. She checked her watch, glancing toward her car. "I have a dinner tonight," she said once, kissing my cheek quickly. Michael still came, but even he grew distracted. He stared at his phone, often typing messages with furrowed brows. The house grew quieter, the laughter less frequent. One afternoon, I overheard Robert on the porch. His voice was low, but the words pierced me. "This house is worth millions now, oceanfront property in Maui. It's irresponsible to leave it with someone her age." Her age, my age. I froze teacup, trembling in my hand. I wanted to step outside to say something, but I stayed silent, listening. Later, Sarah came into the kitchen. She smiled too sweetly. "Mom, have you ever thought about downsizing?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" She stirred her coffee slowly. "Just a smaller place. Closer to town. It might be safer." Safer, the word stung. "I'm fine here," I said quietly. Her smile didn't fade, but her eyes slipped away from mine. The whispers spread further. At church, Mrs. Kalua leaned close. "Sarah says you're not well. Are you okay, Margaret?" I forced a smile. "Yes, I'm fine, just fine." But inside my stomach twisted. Michael came by one evening. He fixed the porch light. Then he sat fingers drumming on the table. "Mom," he said softly, "people are starting to worry. Worry about what I asked." He hesitated. "That maybe you're forgetting things." The words hit like stones. "I remember plenty," I snapped, then softened. "Michael, I'm not lost yet." He looked away, didn't answer. At the grocery store, I noticed it again. The clerk bagged my food slowly. His eyes lingered too long. "Do you need help, ma'am? Do you have someone with you?" I forced a laugh. "I'm fine. I've been shopping alone for years." But the way he looked at me, pity, mixed with doubt, it stayed with me all day. The house itself began to feel different. Not the home I knew, not the safe place I built. When Robert visited, he paced the living room, measuring with his eyes, like he was already planning what could be done with the space. When Sarah walked through, she touched the walls. "The market is booming," she murmured once. "This could sell fast." I stood in the doorway, unseen, unheard. One night, I sat on the porch watching the waves crash. Daniel's voice echoed in memory. "This is our forever home." But forever felt fragile now, like sand slipping between fingers. The signs were clear. My children loved me, but they saw me differently. Not as mother, not as strength, but as a burden. Each whisper, each stare, each careful smile. They thought I didn't notice, but I did. Every moment. And in the silence, after I began to wonder, was I really fading, or were they trying to erase me? The distance grew, day by day, step by step. Robert stopped calling altogether. Weeks passed in silence. When I dialed his number, it went to voicemail. "Leave a message," his voice said, cold and rushed. I left many. Few were returned. Sarah's tone changed too, not warm, not gentle. She spoke to me as if I were a child. "Mom, did you eat? Did you take your pills? Do you remember today's date?" Each question cut deep. I answered firmly, "Yes, Sarah, I'm not a child." But she only sighed, as if humoring me. Michael, my youngest, the one I trusted most, began to drift away too. One evening, I overheard him outside the grocery store. His voice was low, but the words carried. "My mom isn't herself anymore. She forgets things. I'm worried." My chest tightened. I stepped back, hidden by the shelf. He was speaking to Mrs. Keogh, our neighbor of 20 years. Her eyes widened, her lips pressed together. She nodded gravely. The next Sunday at church, I felt it. Whispers behind me, eyes that lingered too long, pity in their smiles. Poor Margaret. She's losing her mind. I heard it. Soft but clear. I gripped the pew. My heart pounded. I wanted to stand, to shout, "I'm fine." But the words stuck, the shame too heavy. At the market, 2 women glanced my way. One whispered, "Her son said she can't live alone." The other shook her head. Such a shame. I kept walking, head high, but inside I crumbled. The house felt different now, quieter, colder. The phone rarely rang. Meals were eaten alone. Nights stretched long. The ocean's roar was the only voice left. I sat in the wicker chair, tea untouched, tears sliding unchecked. Had I truly changed? Was I slipping? Or was I being erased by the ones I loved most? One afternoon, Michael came by. He brought groceries, set them on the counter, but his eyes didn't meet mine. Finally, I asked softly, "Michael, have you been telling people I'm not well?" He froze. His face flushed. He stammered, "Mom, people should know." "Know what?" My voice shook, that I'm old, that I forget a receipt, that I sometimes need help with the latter. He swallowed hard, said nothing more. The silence was louder than any answer. That night I walked to the beach. Moonlight lit the waves, the sand cool beneath my feet. I whispered into the wind, "Daniel, what happened to us? Why do they see me this way?" The ocean did not reply, only the crash of waves, steady, eternal. Days blurred. Loneliness pressed down. The laughter of grandchildren grew faint in memory. The calls, the visits, all fewer, all colder. I once believed family was my anchor. Now it felt like the tide itself pulling me under. The whispers grew louder. Not just family, not just neighbors, the entire town seemed to know. At the bakery, a clerk smiled too wide. "Need help counting change, ma'am." At the pharmacy, the tech spoke slowly as if to a child. Each moment chipped away, each smile another reminder my own children had rewritten my story. And everyone believed them. I returned home heart heavy. I looked at the walls, the photos, me and Daniel, me holding Robert as a baby, Sarah's graduation day, Michael's first guitar. Did those memories mean nothing? Did my years of sacrifice vanish so quickly? I sat in silence, whispering to myself, am I really fading, or is this the betrayal that breaks me? The night gave no answer, only darkness, only the sound of waves crashing against the shore. The invitation came quietly, a Sunday dinner, family only. Sarah called me first, her voice sweet but edged with formality. Mom, we're all coming this weekend. Robert will be there. Michael too. We thought it would be good to sit down together. I smiled faintly. It's been a while, I said. Yes, she replied, almost too quickly. The house filled with voices again, laughter in the hallway, the smell of roast chicken. For a moment, I felt the old warmth return. Candles flickered. The ocean breeze slipped through. Plates clattered on the table. Grandchildren ran in circles. For a moment, I believed this was still my family. Then Robert cleared his throat. He rose from his chair. The room quieted. Even the children hushed. He held a folder, papers thick inside. Mom, he began, we need to talk. His voice was firm, too firm. Sarah's eyes darted to mine. Michael looked down, avoiding my gaze. Robert opened the folder. He spoke like a lawyer, not a son. We're worried about you. We've seen the changes, the forgetfulness, the confusion, the isolation. Whispers rippled through the relatives present, uncles, aunts, neighbors from next door. Their eyes turned to me. I gripped the tablecloth. Heat rose to my face. I am not confused, I said sharply. But Robert pressed on. Mom, you left the stove on last month? Gasps rose. Sarah saw it herself. Sarah nodded slowly, her lips pressed thin, as if ashamed, but she didn't deny it. My cheeks burned. Yes, I forgot once, one time, but no one listened. The spotlight was set, and I was trapped in it. Michael finally spoke, his voice quiet, but the words cut deepest of all. Mom, I told Mrs. Q because I'm scared. You aren't safe alone. Whispers again. Some sympathetic, others judgmental, all eyes on me. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. Robert lifted another paper. This house, this land, it's worth millions. We can't risk you living here alone. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible. Gasps again, murmurs spreading. I stared at him, my own son, his words cold as stone. Sarah reached for my hand, her smile practiced. Mom, we're not trying to hurt you. We just think, maybe a care facility, somewhere safe, somewhere professional. Laughter flickered at the edge of the room. Someone whispered, she's too old for this house. The words stung, like salt in open wounds. I rose to my feet. The room spun, faces blurred, all staring, all judging. Is this what I am to you, a burden, a mistake to be managed? My voice shook. No one answered. Even Michael looked away. I stood alone, exposed, humiliated. Whispers swirled, the spotlight seared, the silence stretched. I lowered myself back to the chair. My hands trembled, my heart pounded. The laughter of grandchildren had vanished. Only pity remained. That night after they left, the house was empty again. The candles burned low. The ocean roared outside. I sat at the table still, the folder left behind, words echoing in my head. Care facility, not safe, burden. Tears blurred my vision. I whispered to the walls, Daniel, they don't see me anymore. Not as their mother, not as myself, only as someone to erase. The silence answered back, heavy, unforgiving. The night after dinner stretched endlessly. I sat alone at the wooden table. Candles burned low. Shadows crept along the walls. The folder of papers still lay before me, cold, accusing. Their words echoed, not safe, burden, care facility. Each one stabbed deeper. Each one hollowed me out. I rose, finally walking through empty halls. The photographs stared back. Daniel's smile. Children once small, now grown. Once laughing here, now whispering elsewhere. I pressed my hand to the wall. The house felt foreign, not home, not safe. I carried myself to bed, but sleep would not come. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces. Robert cold, Sarah sweet but sharp, Michael silent, betraying me with his silence. I turned in the sheets, tears dampening the pillow. At last, I whispered into the dark, "Am I losing myself? Am I truly fading?" The waves outside offered no comfort, only their endless roar. Days passed. I moved slowly as if underwater. In the garden, I forgot tools, left the hose running. Neighbors noticed. They stared too long. At the store, I struggled with coins. My fingers trembled. The clerk offered help. Her pity was unbearable. I forced a laugh, but inside I cracked further. One morning, I misplaced my keys. I searched every drawer, every pocket for hours. Finally, I found them in the refrigerator. I froze. Was this proof? Were they right? I clutched the keys, tight heart pounding, whispering to myself, no, I am still here. I am not gone. But the doubt lingered. I stopped answering calls. Even Michael's voice felt like a blade. I couldn't bear to hear their concern masked as judgment. I shut the curtains, kept the lights low, lived in silence. Nights were worst. Loneliness pressed heavy. The ocean's sound, once comforting, now mocked me. Constant, unyielding. I sat on the porch, often watching waves crash. Salt wind whipped my hair. The sky stretched vast. I whispered to Daniel, "Why did you leave me? Why must I fight alone?" No answer came, only silence. I closed my eyes, felt tears fall freely, the kind of tears that burn hot then leave you empty. Even church felt impossible, the pews too heavy, the whispers too loud. Poor Margaret, her mind is slipping, her children are right. Their pity suffocated me. I left early, head low. Outside sunlight burned bright, but I felt only shadow. One evening I baked bread. The smell filled the kitchen. Memories stirred. Sarah, at age 10, helping knead dough. Robert, sneaking slices. Michael, humming nearby. Tears blurred my eyes. The bread collapsed in the oven, just like me. I sat at the counter, face in hands, whispering, "Everything is broken. Even me." That night, I stood at the shoreline. Moonlight on the waves, sand cool beneath my feet. I thought of leaving. Not forever, just walking away, letting the tide carry me. No more whispers, no more stares, no more shame. But I turned back. The house loomed silent and waiting. It held me still. I crawled into bed, exhausted, defeated. For the first time, I felt truly old, not in body, but in spirit. And I whispered so quietly, only the dark heard, "Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here anymore." The silence answered, heavy, unforgiving, and I sank deeper into the bottom of myself. The days blurred together. Silence wrapped the house. Loneliness pressed like stone. I moved slowly, from kitchen to porch, from porch to bed, each step heavy, each thought darker. Then one stormy evening, I wandered upstairs, into the attic, a place untouched for years. The air smelled of cedar and dust. Cobwebs clung to corners. The single bulb flickered dim. I opened an old trunk. Its hinges groaned. The wood creaked. Inside layers of my life waited, forgotten, sleeping. On top a folded quilt, hand-stitched, faded but warm. Daniel's mother made it decades ago. I lifted it gently, beneath stacks of papers, yellowed with time, edges curled. I pulled one free. It was a diploma. University of Hawaii School of Law, my name clear, Margaret K. Aloha. I froze, my breath caught. Memories rushed in. Late nights in the library, stacks of casebooks, coffee gone cold, dreams burning bright. I remembered the courtroom, the sound of my heels, the feel of a briefcase clutched tight, the thrill of my first victory. I dug deeper, certificates, awards, letters of commendation, then a newspaper clipping. The headline, "Bold Iron Lady of Honolulu wins landmark case." A photograph beneath, me, younger, sharp suit, eyes fierce, confidence blazing. I touched the paper, my hand trembling. That was me. Not this frail shadow, not this erased woman. but me. I found more clippings, articles praising my work, cases won, criminals convicted, communities protected. Each page reminded me I was never weak, I was never small. Even when widowed, even when alone, I had fought, I had endured, I had prevailed. Tears filled my eyes, not of sorrow, but of something stronger. I whispered, they don't know. They never knew, but I remember, and I am still her. The wind howled outside. Rain pelted the roof, but inside a fire rekindled. I kept searching. Found a leather case. Inside my old bar license. Still valid. Still bearing my name. The weight of it was electric in my hands. I wasn't losing myself. I wasn't fading. I was buried. And now unearthed. For years I hid this part of me. I wanted to be just mom, just grandma, not the Iron Lady. I thought humility was the greatest gift. But humility had become invisibility, and invisibility had become erasure. No more. I carried the papers downstairs, laid them across the table. The same table where they humiliated me. This time the papers spoke louder. My law degree, my awards, my license, my articles. Each one a shield, each one a sword. I stared at the documents for hours, remembering victories, remembering the woman I was. And for the first time in months, I sat straighter. I breathed deeper. I felt alive. I whispered, I am Margaret Kealoha, attorney, fighter, mother, not erased, not diminished, not yet. That night I slept soundly, dreams vivid, strength renewed. I woke at dawn. The sun broke through clouds. Light flooded the porch. The ocean no longer mocked. It called, strong, enduring. I stepped outside, the breeze cool, the waves steady. I whispered to the sea. They thought I was weak. They thought I was gone. But they will learn. I am still here, and I will rise. Morning light spilled through the curtains. I sat at the kitchen table. The papers from the attic spread before me. My law degree, my license, articles of victory, proof of who I was, proof of who I still am. The shame from before began to fade. In its place, resolve. I reached for the phone. Numbers long unused came back to me. First Judge Alana Pukwe, once my colleague, now on the federal bench. She answered quickly, her voice steady. Margaret, it's been years. Yes, I said softly, but I need help. My children are trying to take guardianship. They say I've lost capacity. It's not true. Silence. Then her firm reply. They'll regret trying. Send me the paperwork. I'll connect you with the right people. My chest lifted. Strength returned. Next, I dialed Leilani Torres, my former paralegal, now a respected attorney herself. Leilani, I said, this is Margaret Kealoha. A pause, then joy in her voice. Margaret, I thought you vanished. I still remember your fire. I smiled faintly. The fire dimmed, but it never died. I need counsel. I need protection. Her answer was immediate. You'll have it. Send me everything. I'll draft motions tomorrow. I opened my laptop, typed carefully, attached scanned copies of my license, my medical records, my history. Each click of send felt like reclaiming myself. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't silent. By afternoon, Leilani replied, Margaret, the law is on your side. They cannot declare incapacity without medical evidence. And you are sharper than half the lawyers I know. Her words steadied me. I sat taller, hands no longer trembled. That evening, I rehearsed aloud, standing in front of the mirror. I am Margaret Kealoha, attorney, mother, not incompetent, not erased. I repeated the words again. The woman in the mirror looked stronger, her shoulders straight, her eyes clear. Not a victim. Not anymore. I laid out documents into neat stacks, exhibits, certificates, letters of praise, the very weapons they could never expect. This was no longer just survival. This was war, and I was ready. Michael came by that night. He knocked softly, carried a bag of groceries, but his eyes held guilt. Mom, he said, are you angry with me? I paused, then answered quietly, I'm disappointed, but anger won't fix us. He nodded slowly, eyes lowered. He didn't know I was already preparing. He didn't know the tide was turning. When he left, I returned to my desk, typed a letter. To Robert Sarah Michael. I am of sound mind. I am capable. And I will defend my dignity in court. Consider this your notice. I sealed the envelope, placed it on the counter, a warning, a promise. That night, the ocean roared loud, but it no longer mocked me. It cheered. It pushed me forward. I whispered into the dark. They wanted weakness. They will find strength. They wanted silence. They will hear my voice. The next morning, I pulled a navy blazer from the closet, wrinkled with age, but still sharp. I pressed it carefully, hung it near the door. I was ready, not as a victim, not as a frail woman, but as the Iron Lady of Honolulu once more. And when the day came, I would not falter, I would not bow, I would not break. The day arrived, Honolulu Courthouse, marble steps gleaming, air thick with humidity. I wore my navy blazer, pressed sharp, pearl earrings Daniel once gave me, steady shoes, no tremor in my step. Leilani met me outside, her eyes shone. "You're ready," she whispered. I nodded, more than ever. Inside, the courtroom buzzed. Wooden benches filled, relatives, neighbors, reporters too. Robert sat tall, suit perfectly cut, Sarah beside him, diamonds flashing, Michael behind, head low. Their lawyer, Mr. Davies, looked smug, papers stacked high, confidence dripping. They believed victory certain. They believed I would crumble. The bailiff called, "All rise." Judge Alana entered, her robe dark, her presence commanding. She glanced at me briefly. Recognition flickered, respect too, but she said nothing, only be seated. Davies rose first, his voice smooth. "Your Honor, this is a petition for guardianship filed by Robert and Sarah Kealoha on grounds their mother is no longer competent." He launched into a speech, describing me as fragile, forgetful, unsafe. Whispers rippled, some nodded, others frowned. I sat still, hands folded, heart steady. "Then," Davies called Michael forward, "tell the court, what have you seen?" Michael hesitated, looked at me, then at his siblings. "She forgets things," he said quietly. "She gets confused sometimes." A gasp rose, whispers again. I felt the knife twist, but I kept calm. Sarah testified next, her tone sweet but her words sharp. "We love our mother, but she left the stove on. She misplaces things. She needs protection." "Protection," the word echoed, mocking. Robert followed, cold, confident. "This property is valuable. This house is unsafe. We cannot allow her to destroy herself." Davies turned to the judge. "Your Honor, the evidence is clear. She needs guardianship. We ask the court to grant it." Silence fell. The spotlight shifted. Judge Alana looked at me. "Mrs. Kealoha, do you wish to respond?" I rose slowly, straightened my shoulders, held the courtroom in my gaze. "Yes, Your Honor, I wish to respond." I walked to the center, each step firm, each breath measured. I am Margaret Kealoha, 74, widow, mother, but also graduate of the University of Hawaii, licensed attorney, former prosecutor in Honolulu, known once as the Iron Lady of Honolulu. Gasps filled the room, whispers surged, faces turned pale. Even Davies froze, his jaw slack. I laid papers on the table. My license, my awards, my clippings. Evidence, I said firmly, not of incompetence, but of capacity, of decades of service, of victories in court, of a mind still sharp, sharper than those who doubt me. The gallery erupted, whispers everywhere, spotlight now on them, not me. Judge Alana leaned forward, her eyes steady, her voice measured. "I know this woman. I have seen her work. To claim she is unfit is an insult to this court," Davies stammered. "But, Your Honor?" No, she cut him off. "This petition reeks of greed. It insults the dignity of a woman who has given her life to justice." I turned to my children, their faces pale, their mouths silent. "Robert, Sarah, Michael, you thought me weak. You thought me silent. You thought me gone. But you forgot who raised you, who fought for you, who stood alone and still prevailed. You forgot I was never invisible. I was iron." The room froze. Whispers stopped. Only silence remained. Judge Alana struck her gavel. Petition denied. Case dismissed. Court adjourned. Her words rang like thunder. The gallery erupted again. Some gasped. Some clapped softly. Others whispered in awe. But my children sat still, silent, shamed. I gathered my papers, slipped them back into my folder. I walked out steady, head high, shoulders straight. Outside, the ocean breeze swept in, strong, alive. I whispered to the wind. They tried to erase me, but today, I wrote myself back. The gavel struck, case dismissed. The words still echoed. I walked out steady, head high, folder in hand. Behind me, silence from my children, shame heavy in the air. Outside the courthouse, the crowd waited, reporters with cameras, neighbors whispering, curious eyes everywhere. Flashbulbs burst, questions shouted. Mrs. Kealoha, how do you feel? Is it true you were the Iron Lady? I paused on the steps, looked at the ocean breeze, felt its strength. Then I answered, calm, measured. Yes, I am Margaret Kealoha. I defended justice once, and today I defended myself. The crowd stirred. Applause rose. Whispers turned into admiration. That evening, news spread fast. Headlines filled local papers. Mother defeats children in court. Iron Lady of Honolulu returns. Elderly widow fights back and wins. Neighbors knocked on my door, brought flowers, brought food, brought words of awe. Margaret, we had no idea. You inspired us. You showed strength. For the first time in months, their whispers no longer cut. They healed. But my children, they could not hide. Robert stopped showing his face. His business partners pulled away. His clients whispered, how could a man do this to his mother? Sarah retreated to Honolulu. Her social circle turned cold. Invitations stopped. Friends kept distance. Too cruel, they said. Michael stayed quiet. He came to the porch one evening, eyes red, voice low. Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this. I was weak. Tears welled in his eyes. I said nothing, only let him sit beside me, silent. The town changed too. At church, people looked at me differently, not with pity, with respect. At the market, clerks smiled warmly. No more careful voices, no more doubt. Mrs. Kealoha, we're proud of you. I nodded, grateful, but also weary. Reporters came often, knocking on my door, requesting interviews, asking about my past. I gave few answers, some stories, not all. This victory wasn't about fame. It was about dignity. It was about memory. It was about me. Robert wrote a letter. Months later, it said little. Mother, I regret how things unfolded, but the property, it should still be sold. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, no reply given. Some lessons. Children must learn the hard way. Sarah sent no letter, no call, only silence. Michael visited often, slowly repairing trust, fixing small things around the house, listening, not speaking much. His presence was apology enough. The ocean remained, waves steady, wind strong. I sat on the porch, the wicker chair creaked, sunset painted the horizon, and I thought, justice is not only in court, justice lives in memory, justice lives in truth. They tried to erase me, but the truth wrote me back. The consequences spread, not just to them, to me as well. I was no longer invisible, no longer dismissed, no longer forgotten. People looked at me, truly looked, and saw strength, saw dignity, saw the Iron Lady again. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. Weeks passed, then months. The storm slowly quieted. My name no longer whispered. It was spoken with respect. It was spoken with pride. But respect alone did not heal everything. Robert remained distant, his pride a wall too high. Sarah stayed silent, her world built on appearances. Michael lingered, slowly rebuilding, careful, humble. Family was not whole, but family rarely is. I turned my focus outward, to those who needed me. I joined a local council, helping seniors facing exploitation. I gave talks at churches. Know your rights, I said. Protect your dignity. Faces lit with hope. Eyes shone with courage. I was no longer just Margaret. I was a voice again. In the quiet evenings, I sat on the porch, ocean before me, waves endless. I thought of Daniel, of promises we made, of trials we faced, and I smiled softly. He would be proud, not just of victories in court, but of survival, of courage, of dignity. The house stood firm. Hibiscus bloomed bright. Children still ran past. Neighbors still waved. Life did not end. It shifted. It deepened. I was older now, but not weaker. Time had not erased me. It had carved me. One evening, Michael sat beside me, the sky glowing pink, the air sweet with plumeria. He whispered, "Mom, I want to be better. For you. For me." I touched his hand, squeezed gently. "Then begin, one step at a time. The door is not closed." He nodded, tears glimmering. "I will not pretend. The pain is gone. It lingers. It always will. But pain and strength often walk together. I was humiliated. I was betrayed. But I rose, and in rising I remembered myself. Now I tell you, family can wound, but truth heals. Age can limit, but dignity restores. Do not forget who you are. Do not let whispers define your worth. Stand firm, even when alone, especially when alone. I am Margaret Kealoha, mother, widow, lawyer, Iron Lady of Honolulu, and still here, still unbroken. Family can hurt you, but truth always wins. Love and courage can heal even deep wounds. What about you? Have you faced betrayal? Have you stood alone? Share your story below. Let your voice be heard. And don't forget, subscribe for more true stories. Stories of pain, stories of strength, stories that remind us who we really are.